Hello everyone, welcome to Recursive Gaming. In this video I'm going to be showing you a reroll guide for Iron Saga. Let's go ahead and get started. You come here, you click on register, and you create your account name and your password, and then you just click enter or log in. I already created this account for this video today, so let's go ahead and do this. First screen you're going to see is this where you pick your 3 pilots that you want to start the game with. Okay, so the trick is you have to spend your premium currency that you use for rolling for mechs in the pilot gacha. Now, this is a one-time bonus that you get when you start the game. You never get this bonus again, but it is the most important bonus that you get. So this choice that you're going to make right here is the most important part of the reroll process. Okay, so you can do your research, you can look up tier lists, you can find out metas, but a lot of the tier lists for this game are out of date. So I'm just going to tell you, I looked up some information. I found the most popular pilots that people use in end-game PvP at the top level. Okay, and the 2 most popular pilots that I saw was Bora and Hitomi. The 3rd most popular pilot I saw was Judith, but after looking at all their skill sets, I've used Hitomi quite a bit. She's excellent, and I'll explain why in a second. Bora has a really solid skill set. She's just an all-around great unit. Judith, however, is great for buffing other characters in the same faction as her. She shares a really, really strong buff with other units in the same faction, but there's only 5 or 6 pilots in that faction. And there's 2 pilots on this list. Now, the thing is, you only get one of these. You choose 3, but you only get one of them. Okay, and it's random which one you get. So even if you get Judith, if you don't have the other pilots in her faction, then she's not nearly as good as she is for other people who have all those pilots to create teams with. So I don't recommend going with Judith, even though she sees a lot of use in high-end PvP. Mainly you'll use Judith if you want to build that team when you get to that point, which, I mean, at that point you've been playing the game for months and you've got a lot of pilots to choose from. So for this starting choice for your pilots, I recommend Hitomi, Bora, and Teresa. Okay, and the reason why, and I'll explain this. Hitomi has a revive ability where she self-revives 3 times. That's the most important thing about her, and it's very strong. Bora has great damage mitigation, self-healing, as well as some self-buffs that increase her attack. And she's just very consistent. A lot of pilots suffer from the combo where a certain event happens or they use their ultimate, and so they have lots of damage for a split second, and that's it. And so once their utility is spent, their damage drops off, or it's just not consistent. Okay, so Bora is great because she is consistently good in almost every situation in a whole lot of different types of mechs, and so she's a very solid choice. Teresa is one of the best ranged DPS pilots in the entire game, and the reason why is because she has this thing that some of the best pilots have, where one of her skills is she increases her own reaction time. So her stats increase by a percentage, and she increases her own reaction time. Now, this is going to be difficult to tell in the early game, but very obvious in the late game. There's a huge advantage to pilots who have this skill because they fire their weapons faster, they're more aggressive, the AI is just better. So when you have a pilot with this reaction skill or this stat boost, it makes them more aggressive, and they just use the mech that you give them much more effectively than other pilots. So it's not as obvious as shooting something really powerful like an ultimate, but it just makes them overall better all the time. And I should mention that neither Hitomi nor Bora have this reaction skill. Actually, Bora might have this stat boost reaction skill. She might. That might be one of the reasons she's very good. So if you're aiming to get one of these, I think Bora is probably your best choice. I would recommend Bora over Hitomi and Teresa. However, Hitomi is great with the self-revive. She's going to be a great tank. But she only does melee. Okay, so she's very specific in how you use her. You only put her in melee mechs. Which, you know, is just not as... While she's excellent, it's just not as flexible, right? So you'll feel more like you can only use her with certain mechs, and it just doesn't feel as good. Teresa is kind of the same. You only really use her with ranged mechs. You don't ever put her in a melee mech. So she's great for ranged mechs, and Hitomi's great for melee mechs, but Bora, she's great all around. She is better with melee mechs, but I mean, To be honest, you can put her in almost anything just because her skill kit works that way. It's just really good. So anyways, Bora is my most recommended pick. If you want a melee tank, and I recommend Hitomi. She also does damage. So her self-revive is what kind of makes her a tank. It means you have to kill her 4 times. But it only revives her with like 10% health. Now, there's items you can give her in her mech, in her gear selection, that makes her, I guess, when she revives with only 10% health, it doesn't matter that it's only 10% health because she has items that make her tanky at low health or something like that, okay? Also, there's an item in the game that makes her explode and deal damage to surrounding units every single time she dies. So there's certain things you can do to make her self-revive more effective, but other than that, the rest of her skill kit revives around swords that revolve around her at close range, which is why she's only good for melee mechs. You want those swords to hit the enemy, and if she's an ranged mech, her ultimate ability, which is her swords, will just completely miss the enemy and be almost useless. So, aside from having a self-revive, she's mostly actually a melee DPS. She's not inherently tanky. Bora is the tankiest of these 3. So if you want somebody who's going to survive a long time, be very consistent, go with Bora. If you want a melee DPS who has a self-revive, go with Hitomi. If you want ranged DPS that has a stat boost, self buff, that makes her a much better pilot, then that would be Teresa. The rest of these are also good if you want a very strong the strongest melee DPS in the game in PvE is Linda. Okay, Linda is a very, very strong melee DPS character. Stronger than Hitomi, actually, but Linda does not have a self-revive. And the problem is, if you make someone a glass cannon where they do lots of damage, and they are in melee range, they're just going to die very, very fast. So they won't be able to get off all that damage. It requires in-game materials, in-game mechs and gear, and specific builds to keep a melee DPS alive long enough to actually do that damage. Otherwise, they just get popped. So Linda is great, but Hitomi is slightly better, even though she does a little bit less melee damage because she has a self-revive. Okay, so there's reasons why all these are good, but reasons why some of them are slightly better in different situations. So you can honestly just pick any of these and you'll be good. Karis has a unique teleport ability that makes her very strong. You put her in ranged mechs. And then Kamuri, you put her in melee mechs mostly. I mean, they can alternate, but basically Kamuri's more of a melee pilot and Karis is more of a ranged pilot, but they both have a teleport ability that's very unique to them. It's very strong. So those are good picks. Let's see, Divine Empress is a great supporting pilot. Slokai is an excellent pilot, but she's one of the older pilots. But still, she's got one of the best shields in the game. She has a shield that comes back constantly every couple of seconds, and it makes her immune to all damage. Everything just bounces off of her. So very strong for making her surprisingly tanky. Also, she heals for all the damage that she does. She heals a certain percentage. I think it's like 20-something percent of all damage she does heals her. So she's surprisingly tanky. And she also has a great ability that makes her ultimate basically empower her main weapon on her mech and shoot everywhere. So she's a very solid pilot. So you can honestly choose a whole bunch of these and do just fine. But if you want to go meta, I suggest Bora. And then if you want melee DPS, go Hitomi. And if you want ranged DPS, go Teresa. So anyways, sorry about the long explanation, but it's kind of important. Like I said, this is the most important part of the reroll process, and it's going to impact the rest of your playthrough. One of these pilots, whatever pilot you choose, if you choose a good one, is going to carry your team. Is going to be the staple of your team well into late game until you start getting some nice pilots, which is going to take you a while if you're free to play. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I am skipping the story. You guys can watch the story, but I'm going to be skipping the story. Okay. Oops. Oh, man. Okay, so I have to disable on-screen controls, game controls. That's all right. So you can change the name. If I get a lucky reroll in this, I'm going to be giving this account away. But more than likely, it's not going to be a good reroll, so it's not really that important. But you guys can change the name to whatever you want if one of you wants this account, if it's a good reroll. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we just go through this. I'm actually going to pause unless there is an important decision to make. Okay, so I'll resume every time there's an important decision to make, and I'll show you guys the best gear to choose, because you might be wondering, what's the best gear to choose? I'll go ahead and pause and then show you guys that stuff. Right, here we are in the start of battle number 4. On the 4th battle, you're going to be presented with your first gear choice. I recommend the Vibration Dagger. This, I think, is better because it's reusable multiple times throughout the fight. They use the ability several times during a fight. It's active every couple of seconds. I don't know, but it does good damage. They keep reusing it. And this is only active once, because most characters in the game only have the ability to use their ultimate or their active skill once per battle. Which means this only happens once per battle. The tracking on it is pretty bad. It has difficulty hitting enemies sometimes. And I feel like it doesn't do that much more damage than the Vibration Dagger. Plus, most of your characters do ranged damage. You're not really going to have a pure melee mech until later in the game. So you're going to get much more use out of the Vibration Dagger. I think it's a better choice. Okay, here we are in the next battle, battle number 5, and you have another choice. I recommend the tackle, the charge core, over the portable landmine. These are not homing mines. Okay, these do not track enemies. They don't come up on them. They also don't do EM damage and lock them down by creating a paralysis effect. They just do damage. Also, you're going to miss with this ability a lot. It completely misses flying enemies, such as airplanes and helicopters and stuff like that. So this ability will be useless against flying enemies, not to mention it doesn't track enemies. See how close these mines are to this enemy? None of those mines are going to explode. They have to practically run over the top of them. So this ability just misses a lot of the time. It's not very useful. This one, on the other hand, is great for melee mechs. So there's certain mechs that have a mix of ranged abilities and melee abilities, but they do most of their damage in the short range. In that case, you want them to be able to close on the enemy. Okay, now there's certain times melee mechs have a hard time catching enemy mechs because they're very evasive. So this helps them to stick to the target. When their active melee ability is used, sometimes they'll miss because they're not close enough. This makes it so that your melee pilots land their melee abilities when they use their ultimate much more effectively. So this is actually great for melee pilots, and it's going to remain useful even in certain builds throughout the mid game. Granted, you're probably going to replace it with something better eventually, but for now it's much better than the portable landmine. So we're going to choose the charge core. Alright, after you finished your 5th battle, there's going to be a series of things that happen. Let's go ahead and walk through it together. It's going to take you here and going to show you how to claim gifts. Okay, that's important for what we're going to do in a minute. And then you just click on this. You can skip the text, but it's going to want you to click on certain things. Go ahead and do everything it tells you to. Click on whatever it tells you to. It is important to go through this whole process. All right, and so then from this point, you're kind of left on your own to do whatever you want. Don't bother with any of this yet. What you want to do is you want to have enough, we're going to say don't show on that. What you want to have enough resources to have 1,800 primary resource so you can do your first pilot pull and get your pilot. That is the end of the reroll, is getting your first pilot. If you don't get a good pilot, then you have to reroll. Okay, so we're not rolling for mechs because you only have one pilot roll where you get a guaranteed rare pilot available on your account. After that, don't ever use this again. But this is the most important part of the reroll, is getting a good pilot. So what you want to do is you want to click here. Now you can go through here, you can click battle, you can click main story, you can click on the chapter, but here's a little trick. If you just click on this while you're at the base, this takes you automatically to the last place you battled. Okay, so it's going to take us right back to the last place we battled. So we go here, we finish this last part of the story. All right, so it's going to give us another choice. I recommend the portable missile box, and the reason why is because it's different to tell what rank of weapon your mech is using without extensive testing. It doesn't actually show you what rank the weapon is in your mech when you look at it. So the only way to tell is to equip this and then go into the testing and then see if it impacted you. It's difficult to take advantage of these gear choices where it upgrades a certain rank of weapons. Trust me, it's just a real pain in the butt to take advantage of these. I recommend this, even though it seems weaker, but it launches a missile every 2 seconds. That may not seem big, but that's a lot of additional damage over time. So you're going to get more out of the portable missile box. In addition to that, you can actually impact this missile with other gear choices. So you're going to be able to build your missile mechs to impact their missiles, to make them faster, stronger, guided, whatever. And this missile will benefit from that as well. So this is going to be replaced pretty soon, but for now I think this is a better choice than the basic shell. So we'll take the portable missile. And we'll resume after this last battle. Okay, so we finished that last battle in chapter 1. We collected our resources that it wanted us to collect for finishing the chapter, and now it's going to tell us to go to chapter 2. So it tells you to main story, and then go to chapter 2, and then here it has you click on, here we'll show you in a second, but you don't actually have to do this. So you can actually exit this, and so because we finished the first chapter and we got those resources, we now have more availability to claim all these things, okay? So we're going to claim everything that we can. Go through here, collect all the goodies. Okay. I created this account for the video yesterday, but I actually didn't make the video yesterday. So that's why I'm getting resources for 2 days instead of 1. But it's really not going to make much of a difference at all. So these, unfortunately, you have to click on one at a time. Okay, so we have 470. It may not seem like it's enough. Go here. Okay, and go to top up in the top right corner. Time limited. You get these for free once a month, once a week, and then the daily one, which may not seem like much at only 5 and 10,000 gold, but every little bit helps. Okay, then you're going to come here to the options. Let's do that again. Click on this little cog wheel on the left. Okay, click on Discord server. Okay, you don't actually have to click accept. Okay, you don't have to actually do that. You can just exit and you automatically get a gift with some resources in it just for doing that. Okay, go to here to code, and I'm going to give you some codes. These codes are going to give you a lot of premium resources that would take you forever to earn if you didn't have these codes. So let's do this really quick. Uzu Meet Iron Saga. Don't ask me where they come up with these names for these codes, but that is code number 1. UZU Meet Iron Saga. Okay. Click OK or confirm. Click on the code again, and here we'll do this the easy way. Leave Iron Saga and add DC. Okay, so Iron Saga DC. Here, we'll delete the DC, and it's Iron Saga FB. I think this is marketing, so I'm not sure what DC stands for, but Iron Saga Facebook. I think that's Facebook. Okay, FB, and then I'm not sure what TW is, but Iron Saga TW. And then Iron Saga YT, I think stands for YouTube. So Iron Saga YT. So again, the 5 codes are Uzu Meet Iron Saga, UZU MEAT Iron Saga, and then Iron Saga DC, Iron Saga TW, Iron Saga FB for Facebook, and Iron Saga YT for YouTube. And that's the 5 codes. Okay, then we come back here to the base. We click on the gift center and we claim all. That's 1,300 diamonds. Okay, we have 1815 premium resource, guys, diamonds. That's just enough to go here to the cafe, then click on pilot recruitment up at the top, and then click on 1800 down here for interest. See here it says ends after 6 days and 8 hours. Get 1 promotion or 1 favorite pilot. Okay, so this is going to give us one of those 3 pilots we picked in the very beginning of this reroll. You have an upgraded chance, not much, but an upgraded chance here to get Bora, Snow, and Sarayuki. You can actually click on these and see what each of them has. Go down here to their skills, right? You can see what makes them good. You can look at the reviews from other people. You can even look at their skins if you want to buy a skin. This one only has 1 skin because it's a new pilot. But let's go to Snow. I like Snow. She has great skills. And then if we look at her skins, there's quite a few skins available for Snow. So, anyways, you have an upgraded chance to get these 3, and this may change. Whatever pilots are available for you are going to be whatever you have a higher chance of rolling. However, I've done this reroll over the last couple of days about 8 times, and I have not once gotten one of these pilots. So the chance to get these pilots is not very high. Just warning you, you might have to reroll a lot if you're looking for a specific one of these pilots, guys. So I don't recommend it. I actually recommend basically stopping your reroll if you get a decent rare pilot, or get the pilot you want out of the first 3 you picked. So this is the most important part of the reroll. You've got your resources, after you got your codes that you put in, you finished the first chapter, you claimed all your goodies as a new player. Come here and do this in trust option for 1800. Okay, let's see if we got a good reroll. Nice. So we got Bora. And we got Saren. She is one of the ones that you're going to get. You're guaranteed one of the rare pilots you picked in the beginning, plus 2 other pilots. But they're not going to be the super rare ones. The 2 extra ones that you get are going to be kind of mediocre, not great. Let's see. We got Arashi. And then we got Mia. So we did get a rare pilot. Mia and Saren are the 2 mediocre pilots that we got guaranteed. Bora was one of the 3 that we picked guaranteed. And Arashi was the one rare pilot that we pulled. So this was actually a decent reroll. Depending on how good Arashi is, we might either keep the account or give it to one of you guys if you really want Arashi. Let's check out how good she is. Okay. She has some skins. Cool. Not great, but cool. Alright, skills. She creates 4 clones, but they can't attack. She enters stealth and recovers HP for the duration of the clones. Time increases with skill level and invalid for tanks and planes. Okay, so it's kind of restrictive. Doesn't work on everything, but you're not going to go against a whole lot of tanks and planes. Unless you're in story mode. And even then, the most difficult content in the game is not tanks and planes, it's other mechs. So the restriction here is not too bad. The clones can't attack, but they do distract the enemy for your team, which is going to be nice. And then she enters stealth and recovers HP. So it's basically an HP heal while she's in stealth, and then while she's in stealth, some clones distract the enemy. So that's actually a pretty solid ability. Makes her more tanky. All it really does is make her more tanky. It also doesn't activate at a certain HP level, so it's not automatic. She actually has to use it, and that's important because sometimes your pilots get popped so fast they don't have a chance to use their skill. Even if they have the resources to, they just can't use it because they're either crowd controlled, stunned, whatever. So sometimes this may not even activate, depending on whether she activates it in time or not. So she teleports upon taking melee attack and leaves a clone at the previous place. That's very strong. CD minus 5 seconds. That's incredible. Oh no, it doesn't say CD 5 seconds. That's just a dash. So CD for this is every 5 seconds. And it doesn't show me right here. This is the max. When they look exactly the same, it's not accurate because it's not showing you the max. Basically, at some point it'll update. After you use her in battle or whatever, this will update. It'll show you what it starts at level 1. Like this is level 1. You can increase this up to level 15. Or sorry, not level 15, level 10. It goes up to level 10. So I doubt this 5-second CD is accurate. I think this is going to be what it's at level 10. At level 1, it's probably going to be higher. So it's probably only going to activate like every 10 seconds or something. So this is actually extremely strong. She is very good from what I can tell just from these first 2 abilities. Very tanky. That's excellent. Very strong ability. When an enemy gets knocked down near Arashi, she inflicts paralysis for 2 seconds that ignores immunity. No way. Minimum interval is 5.2 seconds. Again, this is probably... No, it is 15. So she unlocks this skill at level 10. She unlocks this skill at level 24, and she unlocks this skill at level 36. You can put, I think, 15 skill points. So this level is not accurate per the skill points. It's probably just because I haven't used her in battle yet. This updates, I think, after I use her in battle. So anyways, yeah, this must be what it's going to be maxed at level, or skill level 15. And then she activates this ability when a summoned unit or clone, ooh, so up here, her clones, they can be destroyed. Okay, so they're not immune to damage. They distract the enemy and they actually take damage. And when they're destroyed, She recovers 5% of her own HP. Ooh. So she creates 4 clones. There is gear in this game that you can equip to your mechs that increase the number of clones. I think it's called Doppelganger is the name of the item, and increases the duration that they're alive. And there's also pets that can do the same thing. So based on your gear chosen for your equipment, you can increase the number of clones, which means they distract the enemy more, she recovers more HP, plus the HP that she recovers while she's in stealth, and you can extend the duration of stealth as well with items. Wow, so she is very strong. Okay, this girl is incredibly, incredibly good. Alright, so what you want to do when you're looking at reviews, what I'm looking for mainly is the comment like this, 2413, or basically a set of 4 numbers. And that's telling you what order to do the skills in. Okay, so if you come here, we look at 2, they're saying that this is the most important skill to raise first. Okay, and then second, you want to upgrade 4. Okay, and then 1, and then 3. So they're saying this ability is her weakest and upgrade this last. So that is the kind of comment that we're looking for. So we go back to reviews. If you're having trouble finding a comment like this that tells you the order to upgrade her skills in, then click on top comment, and it can sometimes be easier to find a comment like that. Most of the time. Okay, here we go. This one actually has thumbs up as well, so this means it can be trusted. 4213. It's the same as what we saw before, but you know that this is accurate because a lot of people have liked it, and so you can trust this comment. So not every pilot has this, but it's very helpful when you do find a comment like this because it tells you how to invest your skill points to get the most out of the character. So unfortunately, because they want us to upgrade the 4th skill first, they're saying not to put any skill points into her until you actually get to level 36. However, you're going to unlock this at level 10. So I recommend upgrading this skill first, okay? And then stop putting points in it when you hit level 36, and then level up this one all the way, then finish this one, and then go to this one. But because it's going to take you a long time to get to level 36, and you're going to have skill points you want to put in just to improve the character, then go ahead and do this one until you unlock this, and then go into this one. So anyways, that's how you upgrade your characters and decide what skill points to put into and how to build the character and whatnot. She's actually very strong. Wow. I actually think I'm going to use this account, guys. So I was planning on doing an A rank only challenge playthrough, basically. And I think I'm going to do it with this account. Now, after I'm done with the A rank challenge, I might give away the account after I'm done making that video series. So the account will be built out. I may have gotten some lucky pulls and had some great mechs and maybe some more pilots. So after the video series is done, I might give the account away at that time. And it'll be an even better account at that time if you want to have that account. But for now, I think I'm going to use this account for the playthrough series. So basically, that's how you do your rolls. Your first and most important roll, okay? And then you check the pilot that you got and see if it's worth keeping the account. I am definitely keeping this account. This is an excellent reroll. Let's check Bora, and I'm actually going to show you her skills. All right. Here we go. She does have a version of the self-buff to her attributes. So 14.3% of the pilot's reaction attribute is given to the other 3 attributes. Okay, so I'm going to show you what this looks like. Here's her specs. Her reaction attribute is 46. Okay, so right now, this is unlocked at level 10, so right now this is not accurate. This is what I was talking about before. So at level 1, at skill point level 1, it only 14.3%. At skill point level 15, it's 25%. So for some reason, hers is accurate and the other one wasn't. But the other one will update as you unlock the abilities. But anyways, this is the difference between current state at level 1 and full level state at 25%. So 25% of her reaction stat would be, oh, what is that? It's like 14 or something. Once this is actually 50. Now, as she levels up, this will get higher. So let's just say it's 100. If this reaction stat is 100, 25% of that is 25. So 25 points is given to her defense, melee, and ranged stats. Okay? And that's actually pretty powerful. Especially if you boost her reaction stat. If you boost her reaction stat with pets and with other things, then it, by use of this skill, also boosts her other 3 stats at the same time, because she shares a portion of that stat. So that's excellent. She's going to be tankier, she's going to do more melee damage, and have better melee AI, and then better ranged damage and accuracy, and better ranged AI. So these stats impact how your pilot actually pilots the mech in a very real way. These stats, as they go up, make your it's just it's hard to describe, and it's hard to see in action until you've played the game enough. But once you have pilots that have these stats way up, it becomes very obvious when you put them in a mech and have them fight, and then if you put another pilot who doesn't have these stats way up, the mech will seem sluggish. Like, it won't want to act as much, it won't be as aggressive, it won't use its weapons as often. It'll just seem like it's on slow mode, right? As opposed to a pilot who has these stats way up. So that skill is actually very good. It's not quite as good as Teresa. Teresa is slightly better with her stat boosting. Also, here, let me just show you what I'm talking about. Go to Hangar, go to Pedia, and then go to Pilot, and you can click on any pilot and view their stats in the game. Okay, so let's find Teresa, and then I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And this is important. I want to show you this in this video because you need to decide what pilot you want to roll for, right? So down here, Ace Pilot. Swap weapons and actions faster and all attributes plus 20%. So it's 5% less. The other one was 25%. But she has this little statement here that says swap weapons and actions faster. It may not seem that powerful, but trust me, it makes her so much better of a pilot than anyone else. She dodges more effectively. She moves faster and evades faster. She becomes much more evasive and hard to pin down and hard to hit. She's much more accurate. She uses her abilities much more often. So if you see a maxed out Teresa in a ranged mech, and you compare her with a different pilot, it's night and day difference. She's going to be much more effective and just perform at a much higher level, simply because of this one ability. This cannot be overlooked. It is so strong. So keep an eye out for these abilities on your pilots. It's going to really make a huge difference. Now, this doesn't unlock, as we know, until level 36. And it's going to be difficult to get enough skill level points to put into these skills until even higher level than that. So you're not going to see a maxed pilot with a skill like this until you've been playing the game for several weeks at least. Okay, you're not going to see this on day 1, probably not even in week 1. Week 2, you might have an ability like this maxed out. But so that's more end game, is what I'm telling you, than early game. Early game, you're not going to see this difference. This is a late game skill, but it makes a huge difference in the late game. So anyways, that's the skill I was talking about with the swap weapons and actions faster. When it says that is when you know it's going to make a huge difference. That being said, let's go back to Oboro. Go to our pilots. Or not Oboro, Bora. So she does have a version of that, which is good, but it's not quite as good. But still, it's nice. Now, this activates after 35 shots. The target disconnects for 3.5 seconds. And the target's actions go into cooldown up to twice per battle. That's very strong. She's going to lock down enemy targets and prevent them from doing damage. It's actually going to make help your team survive a lot easier. So very strong for locking down enemy targets. Also makes her strong for fighting bosses. This is going to be an excellent anti-boss ability. Logical Trap. One enemy only. When SP is full, it explodes. Halves the SP and damage increases as level goes up. So as you level up this ability, the damage increases. Basically, if you're fighting a boss or an enemy that has a really strong ultimate, right before they use their ultimate, when their SP is full, it explodes, it reduces down to half, and then causes damage at the same time. So it not only prevents their ultimate, it also damages them. It also makes their ultimate come back over, it halves their SP so it takes longer to come back, and they can't use their ultimate again for a little while. So also very strong. So she's going to be great for reducing the damage that enemies deal, especially against bosses, or in PvP she's going to be amazing as well. And that's why she was one of the most used pilots in PvP that I saw at high-end PvP. So this girl gets used by everybody. She's on everybody's team. She's an excellent pilot. Let's see. You've also got All enemies' attack and speed decreased by 50% for 5 seconds at full level. That's huge, guys. Enemies going to be moving slower. They're not going to be hitting as hard for 5 seconds. That's incredibly strong. So Boar is an excellent pilot. Definitely my top pick. So I got not only, I think, the best out of the 3 that I chose. My favorite choice is Boar, very strong. I also got an excellent unit in Arashi. Very happy with that. So I'm going to keep this account, and we're going to do the A rank mech challenge. And it's going to be a video series. I'm going to be putting out a lot of guides for this game, a lot of videos. So stay tuned for a lot of information, learning how to play the game, learning all the cool stuff about it. That's the reroll process. If you didn't like the pilots you got, now is when you want to reroll. All you have to do is just exit the game, come back into it, and then just register a new account name and password. And you just roll again. So, alright, so that's it for this video with the reroll guide. Stay tuned for more videos. I'll see you guys in the next one.